about what I'm teaching you to make today. So it's almost April and we're all quarantined in our houses, and I was trying to think, okay, what can I help teach people that might be useful? Well, my family a long time ago made these, and I don't know if you can tell by this what it is, but we are going to make homemade tampons. So the idea behind homemade for me is sometimes there aren't any in the store, which I never thought would happen, but I went shopping the other day and there were none. I happen to have a lot of fabric in my house, but also the fabric stores still have fabric. And you can also use old clothing for these things. Now, something that I am doing, I'm going to teach you how to make a no-sew. This one may look really big for some people because it's going to make a super size tampon. But it's very, very simple. And as long as you follow a few key steps, it's a really safe and sometimes really cheap way to do it, even if you're not in a crisis. So some of the things I pay attention to before I even get started, I have fabric. Whatever it is you're using, whether you're ripping up a shirt or whatever you're doing, I'm preferring, so for this one, it needs to be a cotton of some kind or some kind of fabric that you can rip that will absorb moisture. Because, if you use like formal fabric, that does not absorb moisture at all. So a cotton, a flannel, this is muslin. There's hemp fabric that is absolutely amazing. I've seen a lot of patterns for these online that are where you sew them and you reuse them. And I've always wondered about the ones you sew because what kind of bacteria can hide in the spots you sew in and all that kind of stuff. So for my purposes, this is disposable. I love disposable. It doesn't cost me any more than going out and buying the ones the store has. So, but you could very easily just wash these and use them because the way I'm doing it, because you rip the fabric, it no longer frays. We pull off any excess string on it so that then it doesn't end up inside you. And then it seems like it would wash really well. Not that I've tried that because I just like to throw mine away. I don't want to wash them. So what you're gonna need is some fabric of some kind. And then if you want an applicator that you can use yours in. I'm just showing this as an example because some people can't do the OB style where you just insert it yourself. They need to have this slick plastic coating. So sometimes if you're going to make one, if you happen to have one tampon left that you can steal this casing off of, you may want to have that. So then you make your disposable tampon to match that size. So then you can wash and disinfect and reuse this. So that's just an idea for you. So let's get started. To be able to do this, first thing is I'm going to imagine that you have a tampon. I'm going to teach you how to do it not just by my measurements because everybody uses a different kind and style of tampon. So this is a tampon I happen to have on hand. So I lay it on my board and I see, okay, it's between 1.5 and 2 inches long. So that's what I decide to cut my fabric at. This one is about 2 inches long because I just kind of like that. And then when I'm going to pick my string, I measure the string that is on here, but I need it to go end to end on here. So let's get another string out. It needs to go all the way from this end to this end of that tampon because of the way we hook it together. And then that needs to be doubled. So then you fold it back. Hang on, I got something falling in the screen. Okay, so then you fold it back. And that is where you would cut it at, is right there. So it's as long as, it will end up being as long as this. And then I tie it at the end so that does not come undone. And you'll see at the end of this demo what role that knot plays in there. So that's my string. String ready for my tampon. Then I set this aside for a minute and we'll set this aside. And you can use, when I was actually buying to make tampons, I went through and I was touching things and finding out what kind of worked for me. I know some people are allergic to synthetics. Some people are allergic to cotton. Some people are allergic to whatever there may be. So if you have to be picky, go in and touch and feel your string and see what you think you can handle. A cotton string is usually very user friendly and stuff. And if you're really worried about any kind of dyes or anything, oh, I forgot one more step that I need to tell you. Usually you buy fabric at the store and you're supposed to wash it before you use it, because they put things on it so it doesn't absorb fingerprints when people look at it. So you need to wash your fabric if you're using new fabric. If you've already been using it in your house, you're already wearing all of whatever's on that. But soaps can leave a residue on stuff. So I like to rinse mine in vinegar water before I use them for this purpose. But I also use free and clear soaps. So if you use the pretty smelling, full of chemicals soaps, you can put vinegar in your washing machine for the rinse cycle. And the vinegar will help to rinse the soap out of your fabric, so that then you're not absorbing that into your system when you use these tampons. So to get this piece of fabric now, anybody who sews probably knows how to do this, but in case you don't know how to sew, to be able to rip fabric, so you make sure it's laying out flat. And if you, okay, let's start with the not factory edge, but what came in the store. So this edge, see they cut it at the store. I do not cut my tampons out of this kind of fabric, because then there's always all these little strings, and new strings just seem to appear and stuff. If you rip your fabric, so the first thing I'm gonna do, because I need to get rid of that fabric, that factory edge, is cut off about 1 inch, because it's hard to rip much less than that. So I just cut a slit in it. I hope you can see that, just cut a little slit. And then you just pull hard on both sides, and it rips all the way down. Okay, so then your next cut is going to be whatever thickness you wanted this. So we're going at like 1 3/4 inches, which you can make them seriously any size you want. We made some tiny ones for a teenager once. Oh, the cutest things ever. And it was awesome. So, and then you just rip it again. Now, you need to look at it, because you do not want any loose threads ending up inside you. So you make sure you pull off any, like, see, it's gonna come off really long. And I just double check it and make sure I get everything that will come off of it. If you see any strings start, but then because it's a continuous thread going all the way down, you end up with, eventually you end up with no extra strings hanging off the edge. So there is a long strip. Now for me, this is, for some reason I had this narrow fabric. Look, I found another string, so I pull that off. The nice thing is also, because they are so long, the strings are so long that it's almost impossible for one to stay inside you. And the ends, those don't come off either. So this fabric, for some reason I had the short stuff, but this is about 36 inches long total, which when I figured it out with the size of my super size tampon, that's about the right size for what I need. So you take this, you take your piece of fabric, I'm gonna fold it in half. This is how you're gonna roll it. Basically, you've made a tampon right here. Now we're just going to add our piece of string that we made, which sometimes I forgot. Sometimes I do not tie it until afterwards, but because we already tied this one, we're just gonna run this string to the middle. So here's the string. There's what that is going to look like with our fabric all spread out and even. Let me move some of these things off of my table so we have some things that are not so distracting to see. And okay, so now we have this huge long, I guess I could have showed you with a smaller size, but that's okay. So we have this huge long piece. Now, if I start rolling at this end, because we have to roll them, so this is really funny for any of you who have a husband that's a smoker, ask him if he wants to roll his own cigarettes, and if he says no, well, you'll know how he's gonna feel. So see, if I start rolling here and I have to roll clear to that end, it will take forever. So I have a little bit of cheating that I do. I roll this back here, and then I can roll it again. You don't want to not roll it, fold it. You don't want to do it too short though, because then it comes apart differently when you take it out of you. Okay, but this string needs to roll into the middle. So do not start rolling out at this end and leave the string on the outside. Then it just unravels as you try to pull it out. It's really interesting. But this way, you just start rolling and roll and roll. I mean, it's like just a super long sleeping bag. Now, my mom, for a long time, she made these because she had some toxic issues that she needed to be very careful about what she was doing, and she could control very well by the fabric she bought what she would do with this. She would roll up a bunch of these and keep them in a little Ziploc baggie and take them everywhere with her. And then she would just throw them away. For a while, she tried doing them disposable, bring them home, wash them, everything. It was such a pain in the neck. She decided just to make them disposable. So now this, I have made the size to fit in here. So then if I choose to use these, which I usually just do it OB style and just insert it myself, but there you go. And then you drop your string in here. And I saw my mom actually found some, she actually bought some tampons she would never use because she liked their applicator. So then she had all the applicators she needed for her homemade tampons, and so they narrowed at the top and just had this little stick that inserted, so it just worked a lot better. But I don't know what brand that was. Somebody would have to do some research. If you end up finding out what it is, please leave me a comment so we can know what brand that is. So there you go. You have a tampon. So if you want to make smaller ones, it is really, really simple to just cut this shorter. So then you have it a lot smaller. So you could cut this in half if you're not a heavy bleeder and you need just a little bit. Just cut it in half and you follow exactly the same pattern. You do the same thing, you just make it shorter or however you want. If you end up with 60 wide fabric and you do tampons, this size right here, I could get 24 of this size plus 24 regular size, so a little bit smaller, so for a kind of a lighter day for me, which may be a heavy day for other people. And then I could also, with the 24 regulars, if I was doing a teenager, I could probably, out of the 1 yard of 60 wide fabric, I could probably get, 100 tampons out of this, which is just absolutely amazing to me. So I love it. I hope you like this also, and make sure you check out my other video that shows how to use t-shirts, because the fabric is different, so it'll show you how to do t-shirt fabric. Check us out and like us. Thanks. Bye.